Hi, I just spoke to one of the other officers there. My name is Dennis Fagan. I'm a retired detective in New York City. I run the security for World Wrestling, and one of our wrestlers that lives down there is missing, and he told me just to say we need a welfare check done.
Okay, what's the address?
130 Green Meadow Lane. The zip code is 30215.
All right, Dennis, what's your last name?
Fagan, Fagan.
And what's his name?
Chris Benoit.
In the inescapable tapestry of professional wrestling exists a multitude of names known for their technical prowess, each vying for the esteemed mantle of being the greatest in-ring performer. Yet atop that list lies a performer that, while undeniably skilled in the ring, is a name that is often and understandably omitted from that conversation. That name is Chris Benoit. Benoit's legacy is now shrouded by an inescapable darkness that casts an indelible shadow over all of his accomplishments. While his technical prowess, honed through years of dedication, remains undeniable, the heinous events that unfolded outside the squared circle are a chilling reminder that the world of sports entertainment is not immune to the complexities of human nature. Wrestling fans, wrestling historians, and the industry itself grapple with the ethical dilemma of acknowledging skill while acknowledging the tragedy. And as the debate persists, the dichotomy of Benoit's legacy stands as a somber reminder of a legacy that was once held in the highest of regards. Before establishing himself as a WWE mainstay, Chris Benoit had spent over a decade building a reputation as one of the most technically gifted wrestlers on the planet. First making a name for himself during a run in New Japan during the late 80s/early 90s. Chris would wrestle as a Pegasus Kid against the likes of great names like Shigeru Itami, the Black Tiger, and El Samurai, and eventually going to secure the coveted IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship in a match against Jushin Thunder Liger. Benoit's exceptional technical prowess didn't go unnoticed, earning him a chorus of critical acclaim. Recognition that would lead him to a brief yet impactful stint in ECW, before being allured to greener pastures in number 2 wrestling promotion in the world, WCW. Here, Benoit would become embroiled in numerous on-screen rivalries, including one with head booker Kevin Sullivan, who wrestled by the name Taskmaster. The feud would catch on and would result in Sullivan opting to craft a more intricate rivalry, one that would see Benoit having an on-screen affair with Sullivan's real-life wife and valet Nancy, also known as Woman. Yet the scripted narrative's ripples transcended the confines of fiction, ushering in tangible consequences as the on-screen affair involving Benoit and Nancy would spill into the realms of reality, blossoming into an off-screen romance. Sullivan was humiliated and angry, yet would agree to continue a feud that would eventually be settled at Bash at the Beach 97 in a retirement stipulation match. Benoit would come out on top, and then leverage the success of this rivalry to elevate his status within the promotion, propelling himself further up the card where more formidable opponents like Booker T were awaiting to battle it out for the coveted TV championship. And Benoit would eventually make it to the top of the WCW mountain by securing the prestigious World Heavyweight Championship after triumphing over champion Sid Vicious. Yet this would be short-lived, due to immediate disagreements with management and protests from head booker Kevin Sullivan. Benoit would leave WCW the next day alongside friends Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko and Perry Saturn, forfeiting his title in the process, marking the end of his 5-year tenure with WCW. On the 31st of January in the year 2000, a raucous Monday Night Raw crowd in Pittsburgh would be introduced to Benoit alongside a group of misfits the WWE was touting as the Radicals. This marked the inception of their collective journey as a faction, a path they would tread together for the next year alongside then champion Triple H. But it wasn't before long that Benoit would transform into a singles competitor and redirect his ambitions toward championship glory. The first coming at WrestleMania 2000, when Benoit would pin Chris Jericho in a triple threat match to win Kurt Angle's Intercontinental Championship. 3 of them would be entangled in multiple matchups, and Jericho and Benoit would even see themselves teaming up together to win the WWF Tag Team Championships. Benoit would strike gold yet again at No Mercy 2002 alongside on-off rival Kurt Angle. The two would best Rey Mysterio and Edge to be crowned the inaugural WWE Tag Team Champions. Then the moment Benoit had dreamed of his entire life. In 2004, Benoit would enter into the very upper echelons of professional wrestling after winning the Royal Rumble and securing himself a main event match at WrestleMania for the World Championship, becoming only the second WWE performer to win the Royal Rumble as the #1 entrant along with Shawn Michaels. The following night, Chris would announce that he'd be challenging World Heavyweight Champion Triple H at WrestleMania, and though the match was originally intended to be a one-on-one match, Shawn Michaels, whose last man standing match against Triple H at the Royal Rumble for the World Heavyweight Championship would end in a draw, and as a result Shawn would proclaim for a rematch in the main event of WrestleMania. This would see Shawn inserting himself into a triple threat match at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship, but the extra man wouldn't be a factor, because on March 14, 2004, at WrestleMania 20, Benoit would go on to win the World Heavyweight Championship by forcing Triple H to tap out to his signature submission move, the Crippler Crossface, in a highly acclaimed match. The match would mark the first time the main event of WrestleMania would end in a submission. This momentous moment would be marked by scenes of Benoit celebrating alongside his friend and then reigning WWE Champion Eddie Guerrero. This would be a moment that WWE would tout as a new era with Benoit at the helm, a promise that would never live up to its potential. Benoit would eventually go on to lose his title to a young Randy Orton at SummerSlam 2004. The next 2 years would see Benoit chasing the United States Championship against the likes of Orlando Jordan, Mr. Kennedy, and old WCW nemesis Booker T, before finally being drafted from SmackDown to ECW on a June 11th edition of Monday Night Raw. The episode would also see Bobby Lashley being drafted from ECW to Raw, resulting in Vince McMahon ordering for Lashley to be stripped of his ECW Championship. This would leave the ECW Championship vacant and without a defending champion, so a tournament was set up to decide who would take home the gold. 4 men were selected to participate in the tournament, vying for the honour of being declared the new ECW champion. Those 4 men were Elijah Burke, Marcus Corvon, Chris Benoit, and up-and-comer CM Punk. The following episode of ECW would act as a stage to determine the finalists who would go on to battle it out for the championship on an upcoming Vengeance pay-per-view. First, Chris Benoit would take on Elijah Burke. Clocking in at just over 5 minutes, Benoit showcased his mastery as he bested Burke. The two would go back and forth before Benoit would seal the victory via a tap out induced by the sharpshooter, a signature maneuver harking back to the legacy of Canadian wrestling icon Bret Hart. It was an even match intended to lay the foundations for a potential future matchup down the line. Then hot prospect CM Punk would battle it out against Marcus Corvon in a match that would last 7 minutes before CM Punk would hit the GTS and come out on top, propelling him to the finals of the tournament at WWE's upcoming pay-per-view Vengeance. But as this match would conclude, the resonating notes of Chris Benoit's theme music would fill the arena, accompanying his stride towards the ring to directly confront CM Punk. The idea of the two facing off in a matchup was an exciting prospect, but that matchup would never manifest, as this moment would mark Benoit's final foray into the squared circle. In Houston, Texas, June 24th, the arena bore witness to a high-stakes clash. CM Punk's entrance stirred anticipation, signalling a battle for the coveted vacant ECW belt. Yet in the midst of the electrifying atmosphere, the narrative took an unexpected turn, as both the live audience and the viewers at home held their collective breaths in anticipation of Benoit's arrival. The arena's stillness was broken by Justin Roberts' voice. His announcement declared that it would be Johnny Nitro, not Chris Benoit, who would be stepping into the spotlight to take on CM Punk. Fans would immediately start chanting for Benoit, not understanding the reality of what had taken place. Benoit was reported to have missed the event due to personal reasons, and while it was Johnny Nitro who picked up the victory against CM Punk to claim the ECW championship. Intriguing insight would surface years later that would reveal WWE initially had much different plans. According to documents detailing an interview between Stephanie McMahon and the Committee of Government Reform, the WWE had planned to crown Chris Benoit as ECW champion on that very night. An interview that would corroborate with CM Punk's account that the WWE had planned for the match to serve as an ignition for a physical feud between Benoit and himself. However, this would be a reality that would never come to pass, as the Vengeance pay-per-view would become eclipsed by a shadow so dark that it would change wrestling forever. On June 25th, 2007, the day after WWE Vengeance, a somber incident unfolded at Benoit's residence in Fayetteville, Georgia. WWE would raise concerns when he missed the scheduled pay-per-view event without notification, prompting them to request a welfare check from local officers. Police responded to the call and entered the premises. Regretfully, the officers discovered the lifeless bodies of Benoit, his wife Nancy, and his 7-year-old son, Daniel, at approximately 2:30 p.m. As the investigation proceeded, authorities determined that no extra parties were involved, and no extra suspects were pursued. The harrowing truth emerged that Benoit was responsible for the tragic deaths. Over a span of 3 days, he had inflicted fatal harm upon his wife and son before ultimately taking his own life. WWE would initially broadcast a tribute show, but once details of Benoit's unforgivable actions emerged, WWE would instantly make a decision to remove nearly all mention of Benoit from their websites, future broadcasts, and all publications. Till this day, the Chris Benoit incident stands as a stark and tragic chapter that not only obliterated his once respected legacy, but also leaves an indelible scar on the world of professional wrestling. Yet, beyond the shattered reputation of wrestling and the tarnished memory of Benoit, the true devastation lies in the profound loss of life. The tragic deaths of Nancy, his wife, and their young son Daniel remains a heart-wrenching reminder of the gravity of the situation. In the aftermath, the wrestling community and the world at large were left grappling with the magnitude of the tragedy and struggling to reconcile how such unforgivable actions were possible from a wrestler who was once so adored.